Well, hello, guys. We just got done doing an episode of The Truth Will Set You Free. It was a good episode. It was nice to talk to somebody who had an imposing view. Um, no matter how frustrating it is, it's really awesome, and it's needed to have those conversations because I'm sure she learned a lot. Now let's hope that she takes all the information that she retained and does her own research. That's what I tell everybody to do. That's what I've said from the start of this podcast. Don't believe me, fact check me, go do your own research. And you probably won't be able to say I'm wrong. Okay? And the times that I am wrong on something, I will say it like, oh, I had that wrong. But I haven't been wrong on much. Kind of like I haven't been wrong on how the left views us. Why they always put tragedy in front of a Black person's face is a constant reminder. A lot of people feel like Biden did something great by acknowledging the Tulsa riots. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't acknowledge it. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I think it absolutely does matter. But we're going to call Joseph Biden out a little bit. You highlighted this traumatic, like detrimental, just like a bad time for a lot of people, a lot of Black people. It's not a good memory to have. Not a good memory. And you highlighted it. You made a big thing of it. You made a speech for it. But the Garden of Heroes, I'm not sure if anybody knows what this is. This is kind of like a museum. Trump was getting ready and he signed an executive order, I want to say 2018, to get this started. We're going to give you the list of people actually on here. So I'm going to play a little bit of, don't ask for a link. I'm going to play a little bit of Biden's speech. What the heck is that? Oh, sorry. It was Fox News talking in my ear. I'm going to play some of his speech. Please. Here's some of his speech, and these were the things that he was saying. Now, I've been calling this out for a long time. Anytime the Democrat Party highlights anything of Black, quote unquote, culture, Black history, it is always a negative, sad piece of history. It's never anything uplifting. It's never anything that's going to make you want to go out and do things. It kind of gives you the feeling of, wow, I can't believe white people did this. Wow, this is what our ancestors had to go through. It's 2021. It's 2021.
Mr. Van Ellis.
Damn it, did I share the audio?
Yes.
Okay.
Formerly enslaved Black people and their descendants are here in Tulsa, a boomtown, oil and opportunity and a new frontier. On the north side, across the rail tracks that divided the city already segregated by law, they built something of their own, worthy of their talent and their ambition. Greenwood, a community, a way of life. Black doctors and lawyers, pastors, teachers, running hospitals, law practices, libraries, churches, schools. Black veterans, like the man I had the privilege of giving a command coin to, who fought, volunteered and fought and came home and still face such prejudice. Veterans have been back a few years helping after win the First World War, building a new life back home with pride and confidence. For a mom, and there were at the time, mom and pop Black diners, grocery stores, barbershops, tailors, the things that make up a community. At the Dreamland Theater, a young Black couple holding hands, falling in love. Friends gathered at music clubs, and pool halls, at the Monroe family roller skating rink, visitors staying in hotels like the Stratford. All around, Black pride shared by the professional class and the working class, who lived together side by side for blocks on end. Mother Randall was just 6 years old. 6 years old, living with her grandma. She said she was lucky to have a home and toys and fortunate to live without
Bro.
children, but a different wealth, a wealth in culture and community and heritage. But one night changed everything. Everything changed. While Green was a community to itself, it was not separated from the outside. It wasn't everyone, but there was enough hate, resentment, and vengeance in the community. Enough people who believe that America does not belong to everyone and not everyone is created equal. Native Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, Black Americans. A belief enforced by law, by badge, by hood, and by noose. The speed
Wow.
that lit the fuse. It lit it by the spark that it provided. A fuse of fury was an innocent interaction that turned into a terrible, terrible headline allegation of a Black male teenager attacking a white female teenager.
Dude.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go any further. But do you see what I'm saying, guys? And I'm going to let Eric talk, but do you see what I'm saying? This is what these people do, man. They perpetuate this racist, this victimhood mentality, all this stuff. They perpetuate it. They will pick the most degrading thing that happened to you, give you sympathy for it, highlight it. You know, he talked about, oh, it was a great. Oh, they had wealth, not only just money, but culture, community. But racism came and took it all.
Yeah, so it's really wild to me to hear this guy talking this way. So one of the things, you know, we have to go back in history, not that long ago. You know, he is the person who was a predominant author, on the '94 crime bill, which essentially locked up Black fathers all across this nation. And the part of the issue that we're dealing with today is the ramifications of doing so. He's speaking at an event where, you know, there is a very clear history. Now, I'll be frank. This is not something I learned about very in depth until I was a little bit older as an adult. It's not something we went too deep into school. I think we kind of looked at it, understood that it was a terrible situation, and something we never want to repeat. But, you know, I think it's important to give our audience a little bit of context here. So, Suni, I'm going to read this real quick. It's just a kind of a synopsis of the Tulsa race riots, okay? So in 1921, the Tulsa race riots took place on May 31st and June 1st. In 1921, like I said, the mobs of white residents attacked Black residents and businesses on the Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It had also been at that point the single worst incident of racial violence in the entire American history. The attack carried out was on the ground from a private aircraft and destroyed more than 35 square blocks of the district. And at that time, it was the wealthiest Black community in the entire United States. And oftentimes that's what people are talking about when they say the Black Wall Street. And that's where they did a lot of those kinds of things. So I just wanted to give some pretext to some of the things that are coming next, which are kind of my opinions about why this guy is the ultimate plantation. He's the ultimate plantation jockey. This is old school democratic thought processes, which are if I say it enough and I have a loud enough bullhorn, then all of my past transgressions in relation to this issue are no longer relevant, and I can speak to a crowd. And really, it's pandering, right? So I just want to tie that together and say this is the same person who said he didn't want his kids growing up in a racial jungle. This is the same person who authored the 94 crime bill that literally destroyed the nuclear family, particularly inside of the Black community. And ultimately is somebody who has never delivered on anything that would elevate or increase the opportunities of the Black community. And you don't have to be a Black person to call a hypocrite, okay? And that's exactly what we have in office here. So I just want to give that context to kind of the reason we're talking about that tonight, because you have somebody on one hand who has supported through the entire duration of the last, let's just say 16 months to be conservative, of putting people out on the streets to destroy property, to tear down statues, to incite violence across this nation, and has been, whether he's directly supporting it, I think that's up for debate, but he certainly is giving foundation and platform and is not doing anything to stop it, right? So part of the reason Suni and I wanted to do this a little bit was because we had a president in place who was getting ready to erect statues called the Garden of Heroes, right? And now we have somebody in office who has defunded that, who has taken away the opportunity to highlight the best and brightest of the Black community, and instead has effectively torn down those statues before they were ever erected. And I just want to akin that to how slaves were treated on the plantation, right? There were slaves that were used as day labor or just as labor, right? That was their commodity. Oftentimes there was, tremendous sexual abuse. I don't want to gloss over any of this. It's not pretty. But then there was also a group that lived typically inside the house that served the master, specifically speaking, right? And that was the terminology used. And I'm not going to come out here and say the ignorant words that they are, but there's a difference between the people that worked in the field and the people who lived in the houses. And that was a tremendous conflict for the slave community. Yep. And there are books that are written all about it. So I encourage anybody who can go do a little homework on this. And the only reason I draw that similarity is because what we have right now is a president who is pandering to a group of people, and in my opinion, pulling them basically into the house and creating separation between the two different groups of Black people that I think, Suni, you touched on, I think in the last show with Russo. 48% of Black people are doing awesome. They're wealthy, they're making it happen, and about the same on the other side. They're not, and that's demographically, that isn't all that different than any other race or anything like that. So I just want to highlight, like, this guy is the epitome of when people say a plantation Democrat. My goodness, could we have a more stark example in the political discourse right now than the guy who's in office, who is literally out there pandering to a Black community, and yet still is not allowing them to have their light by taking away funding from where they would be enshrined in history as heroes? Honest question.
I don't even know how I don't even know how to respond to this other than just being like, having a visceral response, because this type of stuff really pisses me off, man. It really grinds my gears. And you're right. There is a distinction between, Black conservatives and the Black liberal. I'm not going to keep getting railroaded with no Vaseline, bro. None. And you're not going to keep telling us to take it because of racism. No, we're not doing that.
So one of the things, and I'll speak to this because, I'm a white guy. I've had the racist label tossed on my back 100 times before, guys. Soon you can speak to this. We don't treat each other any different because there is nothing but a personal connection here. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing about this is that you have the old guard in here saying you have to think like I think. My goodness, what more evidence of a cult-like behavior do we need in order to disseminate, like, hey, these people have good interests and these people don't? And I'm not saying it's only one side. It's both sides. We got Republicans telling you got to think a certain way, and if you don't, you're a bad person. Right now there's a huge issue with that, particularly with Trump versus non-Trumpers. Like that's an issue we're dealing with inside the conservative movement right now. And
Yep.
people are getting locked out of their lives for it. But anyways, go ahead.
I'm gonna show the Garden of Heroes, but I
Please,
want
yes.
you to see when I get on here and I talk about the female-headed household and how they are the most at-risk group. They're the ones living at or below the poverty level. This is Black demographics by Black people. 78% of female households with no husband are living at or above the poverty level. 10% are married. 16% are married. 10% is just a male. If this doesn't tell you what's wrong, I don't know what will.
So I'm going to highlight something also here, because this graphic tells a story that I don't see mentioned here, which is the welfare program. Mm-hmm. And the reason I want to bring that up is because specifically Black women being in the highest category of poverty, it's by design.
Yes.
So when you have a male in the home, it changes the way that your allotment from the government comes as a subsidy if you're on government subsidy programs. If there's a man in the home, they expect one of the parents to either be working and or providing child care, which reduces the overall benefit that they receive. So one of the big lies that I think has been told over a long period of time is that it's particularly to highlight the entire institution, that Planned Parenthood is a good organization. They're not. It was founded by a racist. She wanted Black babies to wipe themselves. She wanted the Black community to wipe themselves out.
Yep.
And she was a terrible person. She was unapologetic in her views. And somehow, somewhere along the lines, Roe v. Wade came in, and suddenly the dialogue changed. Now, if anybody has watched recently any documentaries on that, you'll see there's a very clear link between what this woman wanted, the story that was told, and ultimately the fruition of that law that came. The reason I highlight that is simply to say that the reason that demographic exists is because it requires men to be out of the home. And as we've talked about on this show, those gender roles as providers, as caretakers, they are absolutely destroyed if you're in need of assistance from the government. You can't have both. You can't be a two-party household with two parents and not one of them working and still receive subsidies. So of course it behooves people to say, I'm a one-parent household, the man lives elsewhere, and I've got 1 to 6 kids, and give me my monthly money. So I just want to highlight that, because it doesn't have to be this way, and it really highlights the social structure that's created the disparities. And it's important. It's imperative we understand what that structure looks like.
Facts. Here's the Garden of Heroes. This is a list of all the people that Trump is going to put in. The abolitionists that he wanted to put in there. This is why it's so important. Frederick Douglass was vital in about abolishing slavery. I'm sorry. So was Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Lucretia Mott, and Biden put a stop to it. But Biden also had no problem going back and talking about all the negative, disgusting, and nasty things that happened to the Black community. As long as he can talk about racism, he's good. But if we want to highlight all American heroes in one spot, no, we can't do that.
So I don't know where it's at in that speech specifically, but these are his specific words from today's speech that highlight this very well, just to show the contrast. He says, "We do ourselves no favors pretending that none of this happened," he said. "We can't just learn what we want to know, but we should know the good, the bad, the everything. That's what great nations do. They come to terms with their dark sides." Guys, he just defunded the thing that would bring the good to match the bad so that we can know everything.
Yes.
He's denying us knowledge.
But you can know about the massacre that happened to black people.
Essentially.
You can know about slavery. You can know about all the terrible cops that kill us. All the KKK members that don't like us. All the racist things. You can know all those things. But you can't know the Garden of Heroes.
I mean, look at this list, guys. Civil rights leaders: Booker T. Washington, Ida B. Wells Barnett, Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Louis Armstrong is an artist, Irving Berlin, Johnny Cash, Ray Charles, Miles Davis, Duke Ellington, Aretha Franklin, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, and Frank Lloyd Wright. Okay, there was like 3 white people in that I just muttered off, I think, 10 names. There's like 3 of them in there.
Hey, don't forget the black presidents we've had.
Governor Cleveland, Calvin Coolidge, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Ulysses S. Grant, John F. Kennedy, Abraham Lincoln, William McKinley, Franklin Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, William Taft, Harry Truman. Come on, guys. Like, at some point, right, we do need to recognize our heroes. And we have a guy in office right now who didn't give a shit about him, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago when they're tearing down statues all over the country.
Yep.
And he clearly doesn't give a shit now. He's taking all the money.
To do what with it? Infrastructure.
What
It's
could
really
be more
frustrating,
infrastructure than our
guys.
history? Yeah.
Thank you. It's really frustrating to be. I'm so serious. Lately, the word like coon and sellout have been really grinding my gears. Like really grinding my gears because black conservatives are the only ones that talk about our history in a positive light. We are the ones that truly care. I'm not willing to put you on a shirt and memorialize you. I want you to live. How many people are saying that?
So, Suni, will you throw that link up right now in the comments if you wouldn't mind? We got some people asking. They want some screenshots. They want this
Sure.
information because, listen, guys, we're going to give it to you because this is like holding a loaded gun when you're ready for a conversation about what are they doing here. And this is a good point to make to people. Look at what he's done in the past. Look at what he's doing now. You can use my analogy of a slave owner if you want to. I think it kind of fits perfectly, but
It does.
you relate to it how you will. But this is classic plantation Democrat.
Sad, man. I used to say that, but I got flack for it. Or people would be like, you a coon. I'm like, no, I'm the slave that got off the plantation, and you're mad because you're too scared to leave. You're too afraid to lose your black card. And that a lot of black folks are afraid of that. They don't want to have to defend being black. And trust me, I understand it sucks, but it's much better than living in constant bondage of the mind. You guys are stuck on stupid at this point.
I think one of the beautiful things is that in the broader community of people, right? Like we understand that we all are in this history together, right? It's what inflection point of that history do we identify with? I think mostly, right? I identify with the inflection point of where I looked at the idiot who had slaves and said, that's not okay anymore. We have to change that policy because every person in this country should be free. And you have to remember, like, that's a mindset that changed through time. And we look at it through a historical, it's who won the war, right? But there's a whole big story to this. And when people start looking at that story, they start to run into current historical problems. And that's really an interesting thing to me. Somebody said it in the comments, the Democrats have always been the KKK. That is not it's not a totality of the truth, but it is a very good summation and generalization that I would agree with on many fronts. Now, there were other groups that were equally as bad, that had no political affiliations, all sorts of things. But when we're talking about these issues of enshrining heroes versus, I think, elevating potential criminals, right? Like, it really grinds a gear for me that I don't know. I don't know how to justify listening to and trying to take this person seriously when they're talking about race relations. They've been all over the map with it before. They've said incredibly degrading things, and they've done it in the halls of Congress and Senate. So what makes me believe that 40 years later, suddenly this person really thinks any differently? I know too many old people that have lived like that. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm looking through media pieces of them covering the fact that Trump wanted to build a Garden of Heroes, and they are just tearing it apart. They said Trump's unhinged, tone-deaf list of American heroes is a fitting emblem of his presidency. From Muhammad Ali to Dr. Seuss to Columbus to Edward Murrow, the names being baffling and poorly researched. So every name that we read off the list, what was wrong with those? Like, I don't think you understand how racist you sound, bro. What was wrong with the names on the list? And why wouldn't you want all those people in one area to talk about American heroes? Like, why?
We have a truth-telling problem in our country, and it is maybe the biggest obstacle we have to face as a culture. And, I don't say that lightly, because we have a lot of other big problems that we are going to have to face as a society and as a culture. But what we cannot accept any longer is people who lie to your face. You have not anecdotal, but substantial evidence that, in fact, that what they're telling you is the truth, and not choosing to believe them for what they say. And Joe Biden is the absolute epitome of somebody who has been on the wrong side of history for nearly 40 and a half or 45 years, and yet still is elevated to a position of the most powerful person in the world. The question has to become is, why don't people want to know the truth? And, I'm not going to knock, we just had a Be the Change episode, and Michelle was very gracious to come on. I think there was some points where logic was met, and she seemed to have moments of clarity. But there is this ingrained sense of, if you say it and you disagree with my initial thought process, I can't hear the rest of what you're saying. And to the contrary, I'll just kind of reference, we had kind of two different things going on in the same episode. We had somebody in the comments who was insistent that they had the receipts to come on to make a clear, concise argument, and they won't show up. So it speaks a lot about where we're at as a country as far as dialogue, that we can't even, somebody comes in and they want to make an argument. They float that they have receipts to back up what they have to say, and they won't show up. And I just akin that to the truth telling problem that we have in our country. It's really, really hard to disseminate truth from reality when you have half of the people coming in with perceived notions like Michelle did, where she only had heard third-hand information, and it was ingrained into her to the point where when new facts were presented, you could see it was shaking her world up.
Yeah.
Right. And so truth telling is now a currency that I think we all need to have more of. If somebody calls you a racist, turn back, tell them, I'm not a racist. You're entitled to think however you want. But you know what I stand for? I stand for human rights. I stand for good judgment. I stand for financial freedom. And I stand for everybody having the same opportunity to go after those goals. We have the truth on our side. There is no reason for people to be fearful to speak out anymore. The worst they can do is label you as something you're not, and you can get on with your life.
When you look at the media's coverage of why Joe decided to cancel it in the first place, there's no reason why. I just looked through about 4 different articles. It just says that he put a stop to it.
This is the everything Trump did was bad thing. This is baby with the bathwater. Like people really don't understand what that statement means, right? So throwing the baby out with the bathwater was actually an originated term. I'll just kind of segue back to abortion. That was a term that generated out of that time, and it was literally "don't throw the baby out with the bathwater," was essentially saying don't have an abortion. It's not worth it. And so I just, like, this is crazy to me that this guy was able to sweep this under the rug, and anything that Trump did, whether it was good, bad, it doesn't matter. They want to wipe it away and write it anew. So I'll give an example. The wall, they're building that wall.
Yep.
But they couldn't do it until they wiped Donald Trump's name off of that first, so that then they could restart it and say Joe Biden did it. They did it with the V word. Right, with the jab. Trump can't get no credit because it's all Biden's plan. Well, no, we knew that by May we would be kind of in this position that we're in right now.
Yep. I don't know what else Biden voters need. I don't know what else Black folks need. I don't know what white liberals need. I just would love for you guys to answer as to why this garden was such a terrible idea. And I would really love for them to answer that question. Matter of fact, I'm going to start asking them, do you know what the Garden of Heroes is? You know who was in it? Kobe Bryant was in it. Whitney Houston was in it. All these iconic Black leaders, athletes, singers, entertainers, they were all in it. Abolitionists, politicians. What was so wrong? They even have Native Americans there. Sacagawea was in there. What's wrong? Please tell me.
Fundamental disconnect from reality. I mean, I'll call that what I think it is.
Mic drop. Hey, look, that's what they want to be mad about. Let's talk about 100 years ago and be mad about it in 2021 because white people are burning our businesses down. No, you know who is? Antifa and BLM. Black folks decided to go rob the very stores that you probably work at a Nike store. There was probably somebody Black that worked at a Boost Mobile. How do you know there wasn't a Black owner that actually owned that business? How do you know? But in the name of racism, let's loot.
Yeah, I think in 2 or 3 years when I'll say this is part of this, guys, is I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative, and so I want to make sure you understand the distinction. A Republican is all about that giant corporate business. A conservative understands that when businesses get too big, they have too much power and they can run as a subsidiary to the government. And I just want to point out, some of these things that are happening right now in real time. Clarence Thomas. One of the Supreme Court justices, if not the most aforementioned and probably the brightest legal mind that we currently have right now. The man is even keeled and he understands the ramifications of each decision he makes. Just for context, like his book was canceled off of Amazon during Black History Month. We have to make things make sense, and that doesn't make any damn sense. So, when we have these conversations, I always like to bring big picture, and sometimes that can be a little distracting. But I just want people to remind themselves every time something like this happens, look behind the smoke screen, right? We talked about it a little bit yesterday with the Kamala tweet. Like, what purpose did it serve other than to get a bunch of people riled up and talking about it, right? And I'll akin this speech to it's race baiting. This dude is up there and he is talking about all of these things that need to be fixed. And, yesterday I used the reference of stolen valor. Like, these people are taking this idea of reparations and applying it to them in a life that they never lived, they will never live in. And ultimately people have paid penalties to make sure that cost has been paid. Reparations can be looked at in many different ways. It could be looked at as the blood of the soldiers left on the field for all I care. But one of the beautiful things that we can do right now is we can pivot in history and we can say, wait, if this thing looks and smells like fire, it is. We don't have to lie about it anymore.
Facts. So I hope the first 30 minutes of this show gives you a direct reason why conservatives go so hard. But I think it's time for more Black conservatives to stand up and say, yo, you don't make sense, man. We had a Garden of Heroes. You don't want that bill, but you want us to pay attention to a Tulsa massacre, something that happened 100 years ago, so that we could be mad about it. And America needs to say sorry for it. Didn't you hear in his speech? It wasn't everybody, it was some people. So why is America responsible for some people? And I'll leave everybody with that. I hope somebody can answer that. Why is America responsible for some people? But before we go, I've got to poke fun. Okay, I wouldn't be me if I didn't do so.
Bring in some heat.
Hello, welcome. Make sure you hit the thumbs up.
Hey,
make sure you
Amy.
hit the
Yeah.
subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss a live.
Thanks for joining. We always appreciate it. Share it out, get it out, let people know.
Facts, man. Emotional manipulation. That's all they're good at. Jonathan, yo. Okay, so how many people remember? I'm gonna give it away. How many people have heard that Trump said he'd be reinstated as president in August? How many? And while you're in the comment section letting me know how many, I'm gonna pull up the video that I want to show you guys. I've seen a few people floating this theory around and getting all excited. Trump's coming back. And Primetime Patriots is catching flack for not lying to you all. I'm just going to be real. We're catching flack because we don't want to lie to you and tell you that he's coming back when he's not. You heard it? Okay, where'd you hear it from? I want to know where you heard it from. Did you hear it from Trump or did you hear it from other sources?
The conspiracy people.
I heard he's running again. Okay, I'll give you that.
Might be, yeah.
I've seen cute people mentioning it. Oh,
boom. The Q crowd.
What did it look? I love your comment. The media is saying he said it. This is dangerous because he didn't say that. But you know who did? Do you know who did say he can simply be reinstated? I'm going to let you guess, but while you're guessing, I'm going to show you. Now, I personally do not care for her. I do not like her. I feel like she was a huge deterrent and distraction during this whole election process. Now, other people might have worshipped the ground she walked on, but I was like, yeah, you're disgusting, and I don't like you.
Go. Yep. Basic female.
Sidney Powell said, Donald Trump could simply be reinstated. Where the fuck did she get her law degree from? Did anybody know?
Trump University, maybe.
He could be reinstated. Says who? Where in the Constitution does it say that? Where? I'm going to let you guys hear her talk.
That he can simply be reinstated, that a new inauguration date is set. And Biden is told to move out of the White House, and and President Trump should be moved back in. I'm sure there's not going to be credit for time lost, unfortunately, because the Constitution itself sets the date for inauguration. But he should definitely get the remainder of his term and make the best of it. That's for sure.
Ma'am.
So it did occur to me there is, and you know what, I'm gonna do my homework because I need to double check what I'm thinking right now because there is something that is adjacent to I think what she might be hitting at. But I before I speak on it, I want to do some homework, make sure I come with receipts because that's who I am. But wow. Yeah. I mean, what an ignorant comment. You know, if people think he's going to walk up to the White House anytime and just be reinstated, I think, the amount of brute force on the streets that would happen before that. Trump was a good president. I think we can all agree he did great things.
Yes.
We may need to move on, and that's okay. And as conservatives, hanging on the hopes and dreams of what Trump did isn't going to get us past the goal line. So we can take his America First agenda and we can run on that. We can put that as the forefront of our ideology. But ultimately, at some point, Trump is not Jesus, and he isn't here to save the world. He came in. He's a man who thought he could do a good job. I would agree that he did a predominantly good job. But as conservatives, it's okay to let go of Trump being your president. He's not currently, and he's not going to be at least for the next 3.5 years. And the more that we can separate the truth of what's actual reality versus the conspiracy crowd, the better off we'll be. It's not that they don't have a place in our party. It's that what they're hoping and wishing for, there isn't good legal channels or any constitutional amendment or any good law that is upholded by the Supreme Court that would allow this type of circumstance to take place. So I just want to say that.
Facts, man. No, listen, I'm never going to get on here and lie to you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get on here and lie to you. I'm not going to I'm not going to feed you bullshit. I'm not going to feed you conspiracies. I'm not doing it. I believe in being rooted in fact. Fact. And the fact of the matter is, people need to stop comparing and putting Trump on a pedestal like he's Jesus.
He ain't.
The only people that can change the tide in this country are we, the people. We, the people, voted him in. That is how he got elected in the first place. You know why? Because all of you got out and voted. But to hang on they're conspiracy theories, okay? This is what they are. When they're not proven to be fact, they're conspiracy theories. And it is okay to sometimes dabble in them. Listen, I do. Every now and then I'm like, let me watch this. I want to see what this is about.
There's
but
some truth. Yeah, there's always some truth. There's always a morsel of truth. And that's what makes it a conspiracy, is the morsel of truth is unexplained. And that's where all of the theories come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it starts in a place of truth, ends in a place of obscurity and obscure.
Right.
Thought processes.
And when you tell people the truth, you get responses like this because they want you to get on here and give them hope. Hopeism is a drug.
The big hope that I have, and Suni, I think you probably share this too. I mean, we've got, I don't know, I need to shake out DeSantis on a personal level. I need to go look at him and kind of snuggle up and see if he's the right guy. But look, guys, we have America First agenda people, and really, people call it Trumpism. They call it, all sorts of different crazy things. But in reality, what he did is he said, let's put the country first, and then let's take care of the rest of the business. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole group of people right now that have attached to that and said, you know what? Everything else on the board, let's just replace it with America First, and then we'll deal with the problems as they come. The more that people do that, and the less that they're attracted to one political figure, and instead the ideology, the further we'll get down this road with better, with better outcomes, right? So don't get too much hope in Trump being even in 2024. I think he's going to be up against a battle. You've got younger, brighter, more energized talent that's going to come up. He may be just a kingmaker, and that's okay.
Yes. Here. In order for the 12th Amendment to even occur, electors shall meet in their respective states, vote by ballot for a president and vice president, of whom at least shall not be inhibited by the same state of themselves, They shall name their ballots the person voted for as president, and distinct ballots the person voted for as vice president. They shall make distinct lists of all persons for president and all persons for vice president. Has any of that happened?
No. And let me be clear, guys. This is what Trump was kind of alluding to on the 6th, was if they were to use this 12th Amendment principle, that there is something that could have been applied potentially. But again, everything that's ongoing right now is still unconcluded. If there's some bombshell revelation, best believe it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and we may find new law that comes out of it. But
Thank you.
But we're not going to get Trump reinstated. That's just I'm going to call that out every time I see it, because it's a pipe dream. And if we want to get him reinstated, we have to do it through election in 2024. So that's the date we should be shooting for.
So everybody bringing up the 12th Amendment. That hasn't even happened yet.
Mm-mm.
How are you going to use an amendment that's not even in effect unless these people get together and determine that they want to change their votes? The electors have to meet. Have they met? We're still at the beginning phases of a freaking audit.
So Suni, they did meet, but that was to seal the delegation. So
Right.
like that's when I think people mistake that 12th Amendment principle with what they think is coming down the pipe. And that's such an interesting conflation of two things. Now, am I saying that couldn't apply? I'm just saying it would be a stretch. And absolutely the very first thing it would do is get clogged up in the Supreme Court for who knows how long.
I'm just saying, be realistic, bro.
Yeah. Look at this. We can't even get the votes figured out now. And you're telling me that we're going to all of a sudden pull a state delegation in and have a representative from every state come in and make a vote? I don't see it happening. What I do see happening is our debt getting run up, the Green New Deal getting passed, Kamala Harris's tweet getting a lot of attention, and so that they can throw another $6 trillion into the budget without anybody paying attention.
Yep.
I see a lot of distraction. So let's not create our own distraction by calling Trump Jesus and making him something he's not. He is a man who did a great job running our country for 4 years. And there are other many like him. They just don't want to step out into the spotlight.
Facts. I'm here to bring you the truth, man. I'm not lying to anybody. I don't care if you don't like it. I'm not lying to you, bro. I don't believe in that. I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't have Eric on my show if I knew he said some bullshit. I probably would have fired him up on one of the shows, and he would have never been back. That is how strongly I feel about what I do. This is serious for me. This is my job. People trust me and my opinions, my views, to tell them what's going on in the world. And I'm not lying to you. I'm not lying to you. So if you want to be lied to, Suni, Cash, Be the Change, Primetime Patriots, we are not the pages for you. We're not. Because I'm not feeding you BS.
We aren't here to be CNN and tell you about how you should feel about a subject. We're here to tell you the truth, let you decide. And that's okay. If you decide to agree with our thought processes, come get involved. We need more people to be out there speaking the truth. If you disagree, come to us. Let's get the facts on the table as you know them and as we know them. Because I'm telling you guys, a big part of what's happened over the last 12 months is we haven't been able to see each other in public. So this discourse has been gone to shit because it's all through behind a computer, and ain't none of us be able to understand the inflection in a person's voice when they're typing this 100 fast, right? I referenced GH, who was in the last chat.
Yeah.
The guy had faster fingers than he probably does a mouth. And the reason that I even reference him, not to trash him, I think the guy had valid points. We invited him on. It's that if you can't bring the receipts, then you got to go back to the teller and ask him why the price is so damn high. The price that they're asking us to pay for this administration's hopes, wishes, and dreams is the ultimate cost. It is your freedom, it's your rights, and it's your pursuit of happiness that will be squashed. I'm not willing to pay that price. Now,
Mm-mm.
I'm going to go through every civic channel I have available to me, starting at home, working through my community, going through the state, and then federally. We have to change this stuff, but we can't get hung up on, oh my goodness, in August, Trump is coming back into office. Even if it happened, you telling me that you think that America would be greater than the one we got today? Yeah, we're declining, but I can tell you what, Trump gets back into office, people will that whole Black Lives Matter movement that happened over the last 12 months it will be every matter under the sun in the streets, and on both
Yes.
sides, and predominantly people who have gotten sick of this will say, you know what, I don't like you, and you know
Yep.
what, if we're going to talk about laws, we're going to go back and rewrite history. You know, one of the history laws that people are going to want to rewrite real quick is the Second Amendment, and they're going to want to say, you know what, Castle Doctrine applies wherever the fuck I stand.
Yep.
So you want to come get in my business? You're gonna, and like, so let's not look at this as a utopian thing, because guys, we got to get away from utopian ideas. That's what the Democrats are selling. I'm not buying. And every time Trump gets this mention of, oh, he's going to be a president in the next 6 months, and then it doesn't happen, everybody's like, oh, it'll just be the next 6 months. Nah, it ain't going to happen. And it's a pipe dream. It's utopian. And it's exactly what they want you distracted on. So you don't know who your 2024 candidate is. So you don't know who to vote for. So you don't make the same opportunity for yourself as you could. We got to let go of it a little bit. We got to reposition, and we got to look for the
Mic drop. You said it all.
Sorry.
I don't even have to talk anymore. No. You listen, you saved my voice. Now I'm going to get off here and be like, oh, I want to talk to everybody. Real quick update on Cash. Cash is feeling a bit down because of his situation.
Yep.
Everybody knows what's going on with the V word. They are pretty much
Pushing it.
giving them little to no choice. If you don't get it, you're locked down. You don't have a haircut. You don't have your normal getting out. I think he's only out for an hour each day, and the rest of it is him being.
I thought
in his
Russo said
cell.
he's getting 2 hours right now.
Was changed
Hey.
because of the whole COVID thing.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah. So, all right.
So everybody just keep him in your prayers. Just keep him in your prayers.
Yeah.
Share these videos. This is what you said. I don't want pity texts. I just want the word to get out. So we're trying to raise awareness around his situation and many others that were affected by January 6th. So keep him in your prayers. Share the content that we put out, especially if we're talking about January 6th. Make sure, if you want to and you want to help, I don't want people to feel forced to do this. Give our content to the local news media. Let them know what's happening in DC. A big prominent conservative was affected by nonsense.
Yep.
But that's
I'll
how
just-
that's the update.
If you've got some time tomorrow, get on the phone. Even tonight, get on the phone with your local representatives. Hit your state delegation. Make sure that all of every single one of your congresswomen and men, that they're aware of the situation. Get on your senators. Make it known that we understand that what they're doing is not due process. And let's get on them, right? They're our representatives. And if enough people start sounding off about this, they're going to have to address it. And it's just something that they're not looking at right now because, $500 mask fine for not being in a chamber with a mask, right? Like, guys, we got to do the right thing here. We got to take action. So I'm going to encourage everybody that's looking, you're going to see this tonight, tomorrow, the next day, whenever you see it, feel free. Go ahead and get in touch with your elected officials. In fact, you know what? I'm going to encourage you guys to do. They want to hear from you. I think a big part of this disconnection between what we want and what they're doing is just us being lazy and not calling their offices and bugging them until we get either a communication back or some sort of, hey, you know what? We hear what you're saying. We're getting lots of calls in the same way. Message understood. We're going to look into it. Be relentless in your pursuit for justice, not just for Cash, but for every person that's suffering the same fate right now. Cash is kind of the person who got us going, but there are so many people suffering the same fate and not choosing to be strong like Cash is. And so we want to help those people too that aren't as strong-minded. And the best way we can do that is get in touch with our representatives. Let's do that as soon as possible to everyone out there.
Facts. And while we're going out, we're going to play some more truth. And I'm going to play the video that shows they had flashbangs and flash grenades thrown at them when they were being peaceful. The media tried to say that no such thing happened, but guess what? Cash got the footage, and you guys are going to get to see him for a bit. Thank you for joining me, Eric. Thank
Absolutely.
you for everybody that
Always a
tuned
pleasure.
in. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is
I
going to
think
be
so.
a dope episode of Cons Avengers.
What time are you throwing that up at?
9 p.m. I'm going to send you
9
the
p.m.
invite to that so you
All
can
right.
come on and jam with us.
As I say, yeah, let me get that link and we'll get up there and we'll get that done. But it's been a pleasure, Suni, always with you guys. I appreciate you guys out there, watching and throwing comments out. We love it. Just keep it coming. We have a lot of stuff I think we're going to be working on here in the near future, and it's important that we maintain what we've got going. I'm so happy that all of you guys are our supporters, your participants. Anything you can do to help, whether it's just a share, a like, a subscribe, just do it. Let's get it done.
Bye, guys. I'm not even about to ask why you put that shit up there, bro.
Straight up bullshit, y'all. Hey, they been throwing flashbangs, shooting us with bullets. Look at that shit. Look at this shit. These are fucking American flags. American people standing out here protesting the right way, and we're getting treated like we're not citizens. This is bullshit.
You won't be able, stay with them and we'll figure out, I don't know how long we'll stay with them.
Get the girls out of here. They're throwing flashbangs from over here.
Okay, all right.
Get the girls out of here. Come on.
Hey, let's go.
Y'all go this way. Come on. We're getting the girls out of here, bro. Go. Fucking bullshit.
I was like, dude, literally. I'm good.
What's up, brother? Un-American.
Next man up,
That's what that shit is. Un-American.
Next man up, go forward.
They ain't gonna let us through there, man.
Real quick, I don't know what you're talking about. Russo's not one to shut down stories. So if you would like, I'm going to put my email up here. I will look through what you have. I'm telling you right now, if it's not of any substance and I can't use it and it can't be helped, it can't be used to help Americans, we probably won't talk. But I can't see Russo doing that. Here's my work email. Anybody can send me stuff here. I don't generally check it. I'm just going to be honest. But I'm going to throw it up here so everybody can take it down. It's really simple. SuniTheMiddleChild@gmail.com. What is his name? KCG. Send me what you're talking about because we all care. And if this is going to help people and it's going to get the truth out, we're more than welcome. We're more than willing to air it. But I'm going to need you to tell me the truth. And I'm definitely going to reach out to Russo to see what you're talking about. Okay. Here it is on Hot Mic 2, SuniTheMiddleChild@gmail.com. I'm out of here, guys. Bye-bye.